All right, how we doing, guys? I believe everything should be recording. Today is Sunday. It is 6:49 p.m., so that means the market should have opened up maybe about an hour or two ago. So this is me just giving my Sunday outlook, you know, how I'm feeling about the markets this coming week, things that we can be expecting. Well, not expecting, but looking to happen potentially, and what to do if these things do happen, and also what to do if these things do not happen. So no point of really just talking too much. Let's just go ahead and get right into it. My computer is acting really slow. So I actually have not looked at the markets yet, so my analysis will be fresh. I haven't gone and done my analysis for this coming week, so everything I do is fresh, and I don't want to call it freestyle, but it's raw and it's authentic. So we're going to be breaking down these charts together for the first time since Friday, and since it's a new week, I'm going to go ahead and just clear out everything because why not? Let's go ahead and start fresh. So let's see how the weekly chart closes. And always, since I am in America, I mostly trade dollar-related pairs. So therefore, I go ahead and I always start by looking at the DXY, because if you know what the DXY is doing, you can kind of formulate a plan as far as indices goes. So, if the dollar is really bullish, I wouldn't want to be selling USD CAD, but it doesn't always work like that because there are things that happen in the world, like news and just et cetera, et cetera. But for the most part, it's that way. So gold, let's look at gold, right? So on the weekly chart, we've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullish candles in a row, right? And now we are right up to this level. Well, that's nothing. So right, after 5 bullish weeks in a row, we are at this level where we saw price drop, come up, retest, drop. So, it came up to this area twice on the weekly chart. So you can call that a resistance. And now price is right back at that level. So let's go ahead and take that 10-day. So this week coming ahead, right? What is the dollar going to do? And I don't know what the dollar is going to do. I don't claim to know what the dollar is going to do, but I do know there is one thing I can do, and that is react off what it actually does. So this is how I would be going into the DXY this week, right? Is price going to break the structure? Are we going to get some type of retest? And then, we can target this level, and then, we can target this level. So are we going to get this break of structure right here? Because this is days of price coming here, falling, and then coming here again. That's a double top right there, and now price is right back in that area. So this is 3 times where price has done something in this area. So this is a pretty key point to see what the dollar index is going to do, right? So are we going to get that break of structure to the upside, or is price going to come up here and fail like it kind of did right before the week ended, right? Are we going to get more wicks and more lower lows back, back to the downside, and, potentially all the way here? I don't know, but I do know that if we are patient and if we do wait, the setups will happen, and then from there we can make a move, right? So that's the DXY. So let's go ahead and look at some indices. We got Euro USD, right? We can go ahead and clear that. We can go ahead and look at the weekly chart, right? So how did Euro USD end, right? So weeks and weeks of just the chart falling, right? And now we have this kind of retracement that is currently happening, right? Followed by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bearish candles, right? Straight to the downside. So is Euro USD bullish or is Euro USD bearish, right? I mean, you could say this break of structure right here would indicate that the chart was bullish now, right? But at the same time, right after this break of structure, this move was recovered in 1 to 3 weeks. So this whole move was retraced back. So to say that this chart is bullish, personally, I would say it wasn't right. And then if we wanted to draw this weekly fib, from here to down here, it's a weekly fib though. We see price came perfectly to that 618 region, and price has started to fall, right? So if we want to trade the DXY right to the downside, how do we do that? Because we see we're at this area right here where we saw price where price was at before it did this bullish move, right? So we have to pay attention, right? Because price came here, it wicked, and then it popped up, right? And then it immediately came back down. So, what does that mean? And I know this is the weekly, so I would go ahead and mark this top level out, and I would kind of just mark where these wicks are at. Is price going to break these wicks and continue lower, or is price going to wick just like how it did here before and start to bounce back up higher? And is the bullish trend true? So, how do we determine that? So let's go ahead and take this to the daily chart. We can just go ahead and clean this up a little bit. Right. So what's price going to do this week? Is price not even going to come down here and immediately just, start higher high, back, back to the upside, or even something like this, price comes down here, maybe even wicks, comes back, something like that, is that what's price going to do this week? Or are we going to get this break of structure and some type of retest, and another break of structure and another, type of retest, back to the downside? Which one are we going to get? I'm not too sure which one we're going to get, but, we can make our decision kind of based off what this dollar index does. If price breaks up here to the downside on the DXY, we should expect to see price start to move lower on Euro USD. So, it's all about being patient. Patience is the name of the game. In the charts, there's no point of just making moves that are not there. Personally, that's how I feel. So that's what I'm looking at for Euro USD, right? There's no point of spending 20 minutes on the chart. So go ahead and take a look at AUD USD, right? We could go ahead and delete this. Start back up on the weekly chart, right? So AUD USD, we can see AUD USD has been make this lower low, and then it's been making lower low, higher low, then lower low, higher low, and then I guess you can call this another higher low. Well, not really though, but we see it's been turning down, right? So how do we get in on AUD USD if we did want to short the pair, right? And if we were looking at a resistance target right here, right, this would probably be where we would say not necessarily your AUD USD is going to bounce back up just because it comes to this level, but we can most likely expect price to react to this level, right? So another break of structure, or it'll start to wick, and then bounce back up. So if I was a seller and I was looking at a take profit, it would be down to this area right here, right? But we're not in this trade though, right? So if we did want to get in this trade, how could we get in on this trade, right? And then, I would draw the fib from here to here. That's a weekly though. So let's go ahead and we've marked some levels on the weekly, right? So we can go ahead and kind of break this down on the daily now, right? Is price going to start to retrace back to this area right here where the breaker structure happened, which is kind of lined up with the 236 level, or is price going to go higher and retest some areas up here, or even this 50% level, right? Personally, if I was a seller, I wouldn't want to see price come higher than this 50% level, even though you do have the 618 level here. I personally just wouldn't want to see price come higher than this 50% level, because if it did, maybe it would be time to start looking, the other way. But what is price going to do? Is it going to come and retest this level? Will it retest this 236, this 382? I'm not sure. Will it even happen? Will we even get that retracement? I'm not sure. But since I do want to sell it, I can't personally sell it right now, right? Just because if I was to sell it right now, right, take profit, I guess you could put a stop loss here, put a stop loss here. But realistically, your stop loss, if you sold it here, your stop loss would have to be like somewhere all the way up here, right? And that risk to rewards doesn't make sense. And at that point, you're just chasing a trade that isn't there. So if we can get some type of retracement back to this area and some type of price action movement shows some type of rejection, I will be interested in selling AUD USD this coming week. So will that happen? We're just gonna have to wait and see, right? Markets have opened up, so we see that it has opened up slightly bullish. So we just have to see if we're gonna get that push back up for potentially another sell. So I am bearish on AUD USD. That does not mean you should do it as I do. USD CAD. Go ahead and USD CAD on weekly. Right. So if I'm looking at USD CAD, right, I immediately see this kind of range area where price rejected a lot before it made this move back down, right? So I'm gonna go ahead and mark this area right here on the weekly, right? Just because I see that price came to this area a lot and rejected this area a lot, right? So is USD CAD bullish or is it bearish, right? So if you were bullish and you wanted to draw like a long-term fib on the weekly, right, very long-term, right, from down here to up here, right, you could say that price came all the way up here, right, and now it's retracing right up to this level and it's potentially going bullish again, right? That's one scenario, right? But let's say we're looking at it as if we're bearish, right? And price, I guess it didn't necessarily cleanly break the structure right here, right? But let's say you believe that it did, right? And you wanted to draw it fit right here, right? Because you were looking for sales, 618 level right here, right? You could kind of call it, right, that you were looking for places to sell, right? So that's just one way of looking at it, right? But take that to the daily, right? And it kind of lines up, the 618 kind of lines up with this area that I was looking at for the breakup structure. But I don't really like this because it doesn't really represent anything. So I'd be deleting it personally. But USD CAD, what's gonna happen? It's kind of in the middle of this breakup structure area right here, and kind of in the middle of this breakup structure, in the middle of this support, and basically in the middle of the support and resistance area right here, right? So if I wanted to buy and sell it right now, I personally feel like I couldn't do either just because it's in the middle, right? So I personally would have to wait for price to either come all the way back here before I made a decision, right? Or see, that's so far away. So I feel like the most obvious plan for USD CAD would be for price to pop up here, right? And what's gonna happen when price pops up here? Is it gonna start to fall like how we did this time, and then it came back here and fell again, and it came back here and then it fell again? Is it gonna, do something like that, do something like that, do something like that, all the way back to the downside? Or, is price going to come to this area, get a clean breaker structure, and you could call this a clean breaker structure. And on the daily chart, it does look like a like a pretty clean break of structure, right? This candle right here is clearly below this candle right here, right? But then we also have to pay attention to how this candle right here was immediately engulfed by this bullish candle right here, right? Immediately. So we have to pay attention to that, right? And this whole move was like immediately recovered instantly, right? So are we going to get a clean break of structure, right? And a clean retracement and, something like that up to up here? Or is price going to start to fall? And that's where price action, will tell us. So that is how I feel about USD cash. So just have to be patient. Things will happen, setups will happen. The good thing about FTMO and why I'm trying again is because they don't do the 30-day. You don't have to pass it within 30 days no more. So it's like, I can be as cool, as calm and collected as I need to be. So I mean, honestly, it's beautiful. So, and I have failed the FTMO challenge a lot of times, honestly, and I'm not embarrassed to say it because, like, I know I'm not a bad trader, but being a good trader, well, knowing how to draw a setup isn't necessarily hard. That's not the hard part. Sticking to your plan, well, having a plan, sticking to your plan, that's really the hard part. And waiting for your setups to happen is honestly the hard part because I feel like as a young trader, I was in the mindset as like, I gotta be on if I'm on the markets, I have to be looking for setups. I have to be looking for trades. I mean, you should be looking for setups, but looking for setups doesn't mean I have to look for a buy or sell position right now, personally. And I'm not saying that you can't make money doing it, but I feel like I feel like it's stressful, honestly. And I feel like trading should not be as stressful, honestly, personally. But that's just how I feel. So USDJPY, let's go ahead and look at USDJPY, right? So crazy bullish run, right? Crazy, crazy. Followed by we could call that clean break of structure, right? Price came all the way up here, fell. But now, right now, it seems like price is retracing back. So if we were looking at this from a bullish perspective, right, and we were looking at this from the weekly, and we drew a fib, right, we could say that maybe we could get the 786 rejection back to the downside, right? That's possible, like and price did price did wick on the weekly chart. That's not indicating necessarily that price is bullish, but we should be aware of the 786 region, right? But let's say we were bullish, right? And we were looking to continue to buy this thing and we were looking for retracements, right? We draw this from here to here, right? 50% level, that would be like the most like ideal buyback zone, right? Just because wick, break, wick here again. But for price to come all the way back down here before we buy, like that's a lot of movement. So is that gonna happen? I'm not sure, but that's on the weekly, and that setup might take forever, right? So I said we wanted to look for more up-to-date trades. I guess I could say trades that wouldn't take like maybe a month to happen, right? Have this 236 level potentially, right? The price came, price fell, then price came back again, right? So this little 236, this 236 area, right? Also have this little 382 area, right? So we can just go ahead and go ahead and leave that, right? So what is price going to do this week, right? Who knows? Is price going to continue to break, break, or is price going to maybe make a double top? lower low, maybe another lower low, and then, back to this area. And then once it's back to this area, we're gonna see is the overall trend, is overall this overall crazy bull run, is this still a thing? You know, is that still possible? Is it still gonna keep going, or is price going to continue to fall? If it does break this level right here, and then, if it did break this level right here, this would be another area that we should be cautious for the bulls to step back in. And then we also have this area to be cautious for the bulls to step back in. But after like this area right here, right, prices continue to grow. That's when I would say, this chart is completely bearish now, right? But yeah, so are we going to get some type of retracement? Let's fix it up. Are we going to get some type of retracement back down here, or is price just going to break here and can continue to go? Who knows? But we're just going to have to see. And whatever does happen, we just react, and that's what we do. So that is how I feel about the markets. These 1, 2, 3, 4 pairs are mainly what I'm gonna be watching just as this week goes on, as the week goes on. If I don't make another video tomorrow, I'll maybe make another video on Tuesday or Wednesday. And when I do take my first FTMO trade, I will be sharing it, but it just has not happened yet. But until then, we're looking, we're analyzing, and we're drawing up a game plan basically. So also maybe one thing we could look at is just to be aware. We can go to Forex Factory. History. What's going on, man? I've never seen that before. That's interesting. All right, so today to Friday, uh, uh, we can see all the USD related news that's coming out for the week. And I don't necessarily, I'm not gonna say I trade the news. I'm not gonna say that I don't trade the news, but I feel like whether you trade or not, I feel like it's just good to be aware of these things. And like, I'm not saying you gotta know exactly like to the core like what this means, but if you do click on it, you can read like, can get a general description over here, and it tells you the effect, like actual greater than forecast is good for currency. So I'm not gonna say I trade the news, I'm not gonna say I don't trade the news, but like it's good to know these things are happening, because like if you take a trade on a Wednesday, August 23rd at 9:44, and you don't even realize that like this is coming out, and whatever the numbers are, let's say they potentially impact the market, or like big spike up, big spike down, and you're like on the wrong end of the market, you might think the markets are going against you, but it's like realistically, like you traded at 9:44 when flash services PMI was coming out. So things like that. And so I really just look out for the red folders. There's a lot of Euro news, some GBP news, some USD news, unemployment. So nothing too crazy, nothing like CPI, right? Or I forgot the other one, yeah. But yeah, just good to know. So I'll be making videos as the week goes on. Thank you to anybody who's watching. Thank y'all, thank God, and you guys stay blessed.